Well, I've got no real quote for this one or opening for this. This is probably my favorite example of a horror film that was kind of the archetype for how I thought a horror monster should be. Well, maybe not should be, but a good example of one. And despite the controversy connected to the person who created it, it's still one of my all-time favorite monsters. So I thought I'd do a video on it. And to anyone who gives me crap over it, yeah, well, it's my video. I can do what I want. Plus, there is the whole argument of you can separate the art from the artist, and this is a work of horror art as far as I'm concerned. Well, not work of art, but it's a work of horror, and I think it's a good one. So let's talk about it. To borrow a phrase from Ryan, Hollander was his name, something like that. Anyway, moving on. The Creeper, a 2,000-year-old monster, race unknown, origin unknown. It's sleep and awake every 23 years for 23 days every 23rd spring. And it's mainly known to operate in north central Florida. No idea why, I don't know much about that area. I try to avoid Florida like the plague. Although I have found a state to replace my loathing of it, but that's besides the point. This thing is kind of an enigma. Like, unlike most monster movies or monsters in movies that I see, this thing's backstory has never been elaborated on for the most part. You don't know much about it. You don't know where it came from. You don't know where it goes. You have no idea what its personality is like. Well, actually, you get some idea of its personality, but that's about it. And it's not a good one. Um, I like this monster. It's kind of like, well, yeah, I once tried to write a horror story and it was based on this thing, like its appearance in terms of clothes. And it just has a lot of positives or pros to it that I think are really good. The Creeper's backstory is largely unknown, except for the fact that he is responsible for disappearances in north central Florida in the movie universe he inhabits. And it also has some connection to urban legends, though that was me going off of memory. When I was researching that, I didn't look that part up. But like certain urban legends, like look in the back seat, it has supposedly has some connections to that. According to the comics, at one point the Aztecs sacrificed hearts to him, and he was involved in what happened to the Roanoke colony, was present in Centralia, and I think was also involved in the Silver Bridge collapse, which is normally attributed to Mothman. So again, this guy has some connections to urban legends and folklore and stuff and cryptology or cryptids. Actually, he kind of is a cryptid in a way. He, well, yeah, he looks humanoid. Or actually, I'll save that for the next one. But this thing is mysterious. It's deadly, and if it wants something from you, I truly do pity you, my friend, because you are boned, and not in the fun way. The creeper's physical appearance is fairly masculine and humanoid. It wears a tattered 19th century duster, a wide brimmed Stetson, tattered trousers, and heavy boots, at least in the first film. Its skin is covered in thick, dark green scales. Its digits end in a hook. It has a third nostril at the middle of the nose that opens up whenever it's sniffing something. It has a set of bat-like wings which hide beneath the duster. And there's this thing called a hood that normally is connected to the back of the head and has little, I would say, tendrils almost that kind of are seen touching and sticking onto the top of the head and sort of the sides of the face. This can later be expanded in a wide fringe of webbed insect-like appendages as a threat displayer when it's agitated. And you see this kind of in the end of the first film when before it takes Derry away. It lets out this loud guttural scream that no human could ever make, as far as I know. Personality wise, the creeper is ruthless and merciless. It shows no hesitation in its pursuit when it makes you scared to find out if you have a part of the body it wants. It's merciless in how it goes about things. It's very antisocial, kind of sadistic, and enjoys toying with its victims. It finds amusement in the suffering of others. It understands human emotions to a certain degree, but I think that's what makes it so much more evil, because it is ruthless and merciless. It understands the emotions it is causing you to feel. It doesn't care. It's just your prey to this thing. It has no empathy for victims. He uses his victims' bodies to decorate the various lairs he has, such as the House of Pain, with their taxidermized corpses, and crafts knives and throwing stars from the remains of his victims like their flesh and bones. And it has a weird sense of humor. Like you should be seeing a license plate that it actually has it on the back of its truck that it sometimes uses to attack people on the road or when it carries bodies. It means be eating you, because this thing eats people. Like this later comes up in the powers it has, but it eats people. It's a cannibal in a way. No, not in a way. It is a cannibal, and a very skilled one. It had. It also displays this weird humor in the second movie when looking at some of the kids in the bus. He kind of jerks his head back, telling a guy to get to the side. Tells another guy to move to the side by making his hand into a gun gesture and bringing the thumb down. At least I think that was it. I recently went back to watch the second film, and I don't remember if I saw that or not. But yeah, this thing's kind of twisted, which I normally like. So that's probably why I like the first two movies. The third one I hear was trash, but I like the personality of this thing. Its powers and abilities are, well, because of the bat-like wings it has the ability of flight. So, and it displayed this very, not dramatically, more like vehemently, to a scary degree in the second film when he pursued people. He was killing them with throwing knives and stars and snatching them into the sky to be killed. He it he can't be damaged. In the first film, Darian, his sister, well, his sister Trish mostly, she ran the thing over 4 times. That broke, I think, its arms and one of its legs. It was still able to move with one. It was able to regenerate by devouring new limbs from prisoners it had killed at the sheriff's station they were at, or a police station. It was hard to tell if it was a police station or a sheriff's station. But it killed some prisoners, and it took body parts, it devoured them and regrew them. Actually, one guy had a tattoo on his hand. He bit off at the hand where the tattoo was bitten in half. When he regrew it, that tattoo was still on the creeper's hand after he made it a part of his body. So it's very detailed in what this thing can do. It has extreme durability, superhuman strength, and superhuman speed. It once caught a guy who was riding a motorcycle. It was just in midair. He snatched this kid and flew off, and I don't know what happened to him afterwards. This creature has some downsides. If it's had a limb removed, if someone touches it, then from the severed limb, they gain some knowledge of his origin. They learn the truth about him, which happened in the third film, and that pissed him off. I would really like to know what it was, because it just seems, because I am interested to learn what this thing is and where it came from. I used to think it was a cowboy or a gunslinger at one point. Now I'm thinking it might be older than that, because there's some deleted scenes where it was shown there was a shield with his head on it, like a depiction of his head. So it could be as old as Vikings. It triggers psychic abilities in some of its possible victims. Spirits of his victim are symbiotically bound to him, and they know the truth, and they at times try to warn the creeper's new targets. And crows follow him wherever he goes, although he has the ability to kill them with his roar. When he found out that some people knew what he was, he destroyed the hand they left behind and just let out this, like, another guttural roar of rage, and it caused crows to just fall down dead. But yeah, crows seem to flock to this thing. When it was this, when it was feigning to be a scarecrow, one perched on his arm, some perched on the church that he used as a hideout, and those seem to be the only things that he doesn't kill. People are not as lucky. As mentioned before, this thing crafts weapons from the people it's killed. It also taxidermies their bodies, but some of the weapons he uses are crafted from them. Two of these are daggers or knives and throwing stars. He uses them on later hunts after he moves on to the next target. He also has crafted spears, and he has a battle axe, which makes me think this thing might be older than the cowboy time period. Either that, or he's a cowboy who got his hand on a battle axe from medieval times and just used it afterwards. There's some debate over what this thing is. Some people say it's a demon, other people say it's an alien. I tend to lean more on the demon side. It's definitely not human. I mean, it could have been at one point, and then it just became this horrible thing it is now. In which case, it's kind of sad unless it chose to be this way. It has a culture of its own, which some people think is evidence that it is a demon, because it's kind of sews bodies together like tapestry in its layers. Its wings are demonically bat-like. I mean, if angels have wings, why can't demons? And his wings look like the kind you'd expect a devil to have or a demon to have. It hunts humans, which that could lean more to be like alien-like. Could be. Crows, again, seem to like it, and its presence always coincides with the song Jeepers Creepers, Where'd You Get Those Peepers playing. And I don't know if this has some kind of supernatural connection or a science fiction connection, because it'll play just whenever the thing's around. And, well, it did in the first one. I don't know if they did that in the third one, and I don't remember hearing it in the second one. But that's the rule. You hear this song and you're in the Jeepers Creepers universe, run. Run and do not look back. Get in the car, get some guns, and never look back. Just keep running until its time runs out. If I had to compare the Creeper to anything, well, there's actually three examples, but I think only the two I'm showing seem more in line with it. The one that I haven't put on here is the Yaojai or the Predator aliens. They could technically match that because this thing does hunt humans and make decorations out of the remains of the people it kills, but it has no sense of honor. But that's only if it's an alien. The two on screen, I think, are more in line because there's both a sense of sadistic enjoyment of toying with people and a sense of inevitability, which is something you got from Michael and Freddy. With Freddy, there was a sense you could kind of outplay him or outlive whatever he has planned in the movie. With Michael, there was less so. There was just this inevitability feeling that he was, like, Weaponized Nerd Rage pointed this out once, and I think it's pretty apt in describing him, that he was coming for you and he was going to get you. It was only a matter of time. And the Creeper has that feeling. It has a feeling of, it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter how hard you try, it doesn't matter where you go, he will find you, he will kill you, and he will take whatever it is he wants from you. And yeah, you're boned. You are boned. You didn't do anything to this thing. It's just, you have something that it likes. It scares you to find that out, and when it does, there's no stopping it. all you can do is wait for its time to run out and outlast those 23 days. The main takeaway for me when I look back on the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers is, well, one, there's the suspense. That's something that I think a writer should really work towards in a horror film, especially if it's like the Creeper. You want it to be suspenseful. You want to leave people wondering what's happening, what's going on. Same with the mystery angle. You want to leave, like, you don't want to explain everything about the Creeper. That's probably the best appeal for me. The greatest appeal about the Jeepers Creepers series is you don't know what the Creeper is exactly. You don't want to reveal what it is till the very end, I guess. Or at the very least, over time, reveal more and more, but still leave an air of mystery to where you have a general idea of where it came from. Another takeaway I found was a sense of omnipotence and kind of malice. No, not malice. Well, yeah, kind of malice, but mainly omnipotence. Like a really powerful being that you can't take on yourself because you're just a human, and this thing is not a god, but more like a devil. That you can slow down, but you can't outrun it for long anyway. There has to be, like I said before with Michael, a sense of inevitability. Um, well, yeah, just like you can prolong it, but the creeper is going to get you somehow in some way. It's going to find you no matter where you hide, and you're just a meal to him. You're nothing. You're not a person. You can't reason with him. You can't bargain with him. You can't do anything. Another thing is the evil antagonist or villain angle. Because like I've said before, I miss when villains were really evil. And the Creeper to me is an evil villain and antagonist. This isn't a feel sorry for me monster. This is, in the next 10 seconds, I'm going to be carving you to little pieces and eating you kind of monster. And lastly, I think it shows that the monster of a story should be threatening or imposing. Just like you don't feel like when this thing enters the room, you feel scared. That was something the creeper did well, even before you actually got a good look at it, before you saw what it looked like. There was just this intimidating aura around it. It was the mystery of not knowing what this thing was. And that goes back to two schools of thought of horror. One is don't show the monster because the audience's mind can make it 1,000 times more scary than it actually is. Or, as Sam Raimi put it, show it. Show it, show it, show it. And when they show the monster, I think it has to have a sense of, like, if it's not a human or it has no sense of humanity to it, then, and I mean evil kind of humanity, if it doesn't have that, then it just has to be imposing, threatening, intimidating, and you're kind of wondering what's going to happen when this thing enters the room. Is it just going to slaughter everyone? Is it going to tear them apart? Is it going to rip off their heads? Is it going to rip out their hearts? I'm sorry, did I say rip off or tear off their heads? Sorry, I was kind of getting in the mood there. But yeah, that's the main takeaway for me. The Creeper is definitely the more interesting monster of the horror films I've seen. But then again, I haven't seen a whole lot. But it's mainly the mystery that always brings me back to it. Of just what is this thing? Where did it come from? What does it want? What did it do before? Was it human? Is it a demon? Is it an alien? God, I hope it's not an alien. That would be such a kick to the nads for some reason. But yeah, this is just another one of the videos I wanted to do. It's actually, like Arden, very far down the list. But I wanted to do this one anyway because, well, I don't think I'll be doing many horror videos because I'm not very good at scaring people. And I don't really know how to sell it. But yeah, have a nice day. I hope this gave you something to think about if you're wanting to write a horror story. That or it just gives you reasons to go watch Jeepers Creepers. Like I know you'd probably be reluctant because of what the news surrounding the director is, but there is such a thing as separating the art from the artist. And I think The Creeper definitely deserves that treatment because despite the fact that it was written and directed by a guy who's, in my opinion, a scumbag, it is still a good horror film, and The Creeper is a good horror monster that inspires as much fear as it does fascination, or at least to me. And as I said before, have a nice day. Remember, the game was rigged from the start.